The headline on the really terrific piece by John Machota in The Athletic: Cowboys searching for answers on defense. Quote, "We're closer than a lot of people realize." To which I respond, closer to what? Because when we start digging into the numbers through a month, the 2025 Dallas Cowboys defense, the only thing it's close to is the infamous 2020 Dallas Cowboys defense. I'm Mike Fisher, your trusty and trusted reporter. Breakfast at Fish and Ease. Fish like live. Don't worry. I'll check all your comments, as we also invite you to subscribe to what we do here so you get your chance at the Cowboys practice jersey. That's authentic, and you get to represent George Pickens when you win that baby. Cowboys searching for answers on defense. Yes, we're closer than a lot of people realize. I don't know. Shoddy, there's a way that we can stop having these defensive conversations about the struggles, and that's to play better. We're capable of playing better. There's no question about that. In fact, I'm going to prove it after we plow through some of the junk. Third down defense. Against Green Bay, about as bad as it gets. Allowed 10 of 14 third down conversions. And now, through the month, the Cowboys have the third worst third down defense. Here's why the players, if they care to whisper that it wasn't me, like Shaggy, wasn't me, wasn't me. If they want to say that, if they want to claim that under their breath or privately, last year, similar, except for Micah, similar roster, except for Micah, Cowboys were the 9th best third down defense. Diddly-diddly-dink, what? They went from being a top 10 third down defense to being the dregs, and it's because of one guy. And is the one guy Micah, or is the one guy Micah, or is the one guy Michael? Because Michael Zimmer, friend of the show, isn't here anymore, of course, replaced by Matt Eberflus. I will remind those of you who said they should have just kept Zim, they should have called Zim. Exclusive. Mike Zimmer wanted to be the head coach of the 2025 Dallas Cowboys. The Joneses told him, yeah, stay tuned, we'll get with you. And they just never did. And they fell in love over here with Shoddy, and that was the end of that. Had Schottenheimer's, and not that they're not friendly, had Schottenheimer and the Cowboys called Zimmer and said, you want to be the defensive coordinator, he would have said, no thanks. I'm going to go hug my sweetheart, race some horses, and help Dion. Mike Zimmer was mildly insulted that he didn't at least get to interview for this job. So forget that. That bus has left the station. Shoddy going through the jump out problems. Explosive plays have been a problem. Yep. Getting people off the field off third down. Yep. Forcing them to kick field goals. Yep. All very familiar. And this isn't just Green Bay. He says, we can't just go in and put in a magic defense. It's going to fix everything. We got to fix it through execution and team defense and communication, better coaching. And that's what we're working for. Sure. They play more defense, more zone defense going into Sunday than all but one NFL team. The Raiders and the Cowboys are the most zone defense teams. That's not automatically bad. When we go dance through all these numbers, including, by the way, numbers that you can find at ProfitX, go check out ProfitX. You can see now we've got Cowboys Jets numbers that you can play with. And yes, you do get to play with them. This is a peer-to-peer opportunity to put your money where your mouth is at ProfitX. And you don't deal with the sports books. You don't deal with the house. You just deal with peers just like you. Check it out. I think you'll enjoy it and poke around, but not only with the numbers that you see, but use the link below at ProfitX. Go in there, figure out what you're doing. It's easy and it's fun, and use the promo code FISH and understand that terms and conditions apply. Over the course, John Machota points out, of the last 15 years, Cowboys offense being better than the defense, that's not uncommon. He points out 12 of the 15 years, that's been the case. But adds that it's usually not this lopsided. This is the best offense in football by some measures and the worst defense in football by some measures. And it causes many of you, I know, to hearken back to 2020. Mike McCarthy's first season. He hires one of his very best friends, Mike Nolan, to be the defensive coordinator. Was it a mistake? It might have been a mistake to point out that they were best friends, because that made it look like we're just, good old boys network. And over the years, Nolan has hired McCarthy, Mike has hired that Mike, and that happens all the time in football. That doesn't make Nolan a bad coach. What made Nolan appear to be a bad coach, in my opinion, as I reported at the time, they're in a COVID year, new coaching staff, new players. McCarthy and Nolan hadn't even worked together recently, and they're trying to teach all this new system on Zoom meetings. And as I said at the time, you're trying to learn Mandarin Chinese on YouTube. Not going to work. They shouldn't have changed the system. They should have kept the same language, the same system, everything. Would have given them a chance. Instead, they tried to change everything, couldn't do it. They stunk up the joint. Nolan lasted one season and was essentially done at this level of football. Cowboys finished 6-10 that year. They rank at the very bottom in scoring and near the bottom in total defense. And Machota writes, this year's group could be worse. Except I do point out, is the personnel worse than it was in 2020? Is the personnel substantially worse than it was a year ago? This year they ranked 32nd in total defense, 31st in scoring defense. And then Machota does the rankings, the comparisons between the 2 years. You ready? Take out your number 2 pencils. 2025 versus 2020. This year, third down given up, 58%. That year, 46%. So you are worse. Takeaways, only 2 that year, only 2 this year. Crappy. Yards allowed per game. This year, 420. That year, 430. Oof. So similarly horrible. Pass yards per game. That year, 258. Not good. This year, almost 300. Worse. Rushing yards per game. This is where it gets flipped around. This year, you're only giving up 123 yards rushing, and you're telling yourself you're good against the run, but maybe it's just because teams realize they don't need to, they'll just throw against you. In 2020, rushing yards per game, and I'll never forget it, because this was Aikman, I think he was doing the Bengals game, and there was a shot of the Cowboys bench, secondary or whatever, sitting on the bench, and they had no interest. His observation was they had no interest in playing. And you could really see it in the run defense. They give up 172 rushing yards per game that year. Points per game this year, 33, ick, horrible. That year, 36.5, ickier. I got Shoddy, I got Steven, I got Jerry. Jerry said it again this week. Help is on the way. And I'm dubious, because I don't think you could say that rookie Shannon Ravel, let's say, Siobhan Ravel, they don't even know him. They don't know that he's going to come fix things. Josh Butler's going to fix things. Kalen Carson's going to fix things. I'm not buying it. DeMarvion Overshown, when he gets here, midseason, Thanksgiving, maybe. That's the only member of the cavalry who's ever actually done anything in the NFL. So the idea that there's not a magical defensive fix, true. The idea that this team has no business being this much worse than last year's team because the personnel isn't that much different, I believe, true. The idea that this is the worst Cowboy defense of all time, and by the way, I'm skipping some other years. I'm sticking with 2020 because it sticks in your craw. It's not the worst Cowboy defensive team in recent memory, but the fact that it's essentially tied with 2020 suggests that Matt Eberflus's future, if they don't get this fixed, might mirror what Mike Nolan's future eventually became after 2020.